exit
going
for
live.
a moment. I have
Yeah,
to
that's
exit.
fine. Okay. Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. Thanks everybody for listening. This is a public show. We've just finished recording a patron-only show. I wanted to just kind of give you a little hint about what we talk about in those shows in case you're not a patron supporter and you're not hearing those shows. We talk about things that we can't talk about publicly. So in this case, we're talking about some potential clients and how we evaluated them and whether they'd be a good fit, how we make our pitch for our monthly services, a couple of wins with our monthly services, how we structure those plans. We talk about our marketing. So that's all stuff we covered just in the show we just finished recording. You can hear that in the patron-only feed. Those shows come out about once a month. So when you're hearing a best of show in the public feed for Command Control Power, there is a corresponding patron-only show, a full episode, usually about an hour long, that you can see in your private podcast feed. So you subscribe right in your favorite podcasts app to the patron-only feed, and you'll get those shows when they come out just about monthly. So all of that is available at commandcontrolpower.com. Click on support and pledge any amount on Patreon, and you'll be able to access those new shows coming up and also all the previous shows as well. So there's a lot of content there. If you're missing us in those best of weeks, you can find a lot of extra content there on the patron-only feed. I'm also wearing my patron-only t-shirt. So this is our Command Control Power shirt that goes out to patrons. You can kind of see it here. And it's available on our website as well. The embroidered version is available for purchase, or you get the screen printed, which is actually really good screen printing by way of Patreon as well for free.
That's right.
So
I'm not
what's
wearing
new?
mine. I apologize.
Yeah, we didn't coordinate that this time around, but yeah, I thought I would tease that. I also had a show. I had an update for you guys about my Amazon affiliates marketing because we talked about this a while back, and I promised kind of doing an update on that. That's usually a patron thing, but I thought we could maybe talk about that publicly if you guys are game for that. I don't have I'll share some of my numbers, but basically, months ago we talked about this, and you can probably find it if you are a patron. You can do a search there. We talked about our Amazon affiliates marketing. So I think we're all three of us are signed up as Amazon affiliates. Not anymore,
No.
Jerry?
No.
What happened? They kicked you
I was
out?
really, they booted me out again.
Wow.
So they're dead to me at this point. But I was really excited. I had a new website to market it called Hostinger, and they made it real easy to put in links. And I was very, very excited. I decided to play by the rules. And so I was playing by the rules, and they still red flagged this brand new account because somehow they must have some reference to say like, oh, this guy was a troublemaker from way back. He wasn't following the rules. And so I don't care what he's doing now. He's out.
Right.
So they are so dead to me. I don't care. And the irony is, right? So I had this prepaid Hostinger account. Why Hostinger? Because there's it's because they had, I believe it was suggested by ChatGPT months ago, where they said, well, they make it very, very easy if you run an Amazon affiliates account for you to put in, to construct your pages and update your pages. So I was really excited. It was great. Whatever the money was, I knew I would make it back. Well, guess what? I made nothing. So I said, well, okay, let's take lemons and make some lemonade. I'll get the domain and I'll make a Backblaze affiliate page. Nice. And people will land on that. Just magically, they'll come to it. And of course, Backblaze discontinued their program.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
guns.
It's a lose-lose situation there.
Yeah, it's rough. Sam, what's your experience with Amazon affiliates? Are you enrolled? You don't even use it?
Yeah, I don't do it, man. I think I tried a few years ago after hearing about you guys doing it. And then I was just like, I don't know what stopped me from. I think what happened is we just ended up doing our own markups on selling. If we provide the quote and do all the legwork to get it together, we put a little markup on there.
Look at Joe. He's got a wry little smile. He's got something really special to tell us.
No, it's not at all.
So,
no,
he made like
nothing.
$37, and he's really happy.
Exactly. No, Jerry, I think you actually hit the number right on the head somehow, because it's probably going to be $37. But no,
you've been hacked, Joe, and I'm in your computer right now. So
in the world of affiliate marketing, like no one's making a lot of money. It seems to be. I mean, unless it's like your full-time gig, maybe. But it occurs to me, like we promote so many products and services, and we sell a ton of stuff, a ton of accessories and things through Amazon. Usually, like we're always linking to Amazon. That's what everybody wants to use if it's available there. And also we're not selling Apple hardware. We're linking people to Apple hardware through the Apple custom store. So that's for business, and we have those set up for those clients. These programs get us a little bit of a kickback, very, very small, barely moves the needle. But to me, it basically covers the effort I'm putting in researching stuff for clients and sending them links of what to order, aside from the consulting time that we're going to get to actually integrate it or configure it. Sometimes you just recommend a hard drive and they just plug it in and they're good to go. So it's not always like there's billable time, and we're still spending time doing it. So that's how I look at, like, maybe it offsets that time a little bit, and why not collect a little something on the side? So Amazon, the operative word was little. You get very little on the side for what I've been doing. And what I realized months ago was, to Jerry's point, we were linking people directly to the Amazon store, Amazon.com, to the product with our little tag at the end. They call it a query string, whatever it is, like question something equals, my little code, my little affiliate code. And that's how they know they came from us, right? I thought that was good enough. I didn't realize, despite I should have learned this lesson years ago when they booted me from the program. After an appeal, they let me back in. And I'm still in the program, but I've been doing this wrong apparently this whole time, because I realized that not only do they not count those links that you send like through email, you're just telling somebody to click this link and they click it and they go to the Amazon page. Not only do they not count them, but they also can count those against you. And I think that may have been why you got booted out, Jerry, and I got booted out.
Against you?
Yeah, because they see that this person has an Amazon link that says they came from you, but there's no referring page. I think that's how they track it. So it's like that link has to show that address in the URL, but it has to say that, the back button would take them back to your page, like your website that's registered with Amazon, so your actual URL, and a page on your site that is linking them to Amazon. If they get there through some other means, like they copied and pasted the link, or again, through email, Amazon doesn't give you credit for it. And apparently over time, they might count that against you. Like, where is the page that these links are coming from? So they actually found, here's where I finally realized like how they actually track that. So Amazon reached out to me at one point and said, hey, like, there's no, you're sending us traffic from this repairshopper.com or whatever. I don't even know my own URL, but I use Repair Shopper to manage my company, and it's basically my ticketing system. So I will link clients to, an Amazon product page through my ticketing system. Same as like doing it through email, right? So Amazon sees this link and says, what is this Repair Shopper page? We just need to see that page that they're being referred by, as if it's like a private page for your customers on Repair Shopper. In fact, it's a ticket, custom for each client, right? In each issue. Amazon is basically asking, if this is like a private section where only your customers have access to it, you can use that, but you need to give us an account so we can like see that page or whatever. And then I realized, this is not like, I'm not supposed to be linking to Amazon through that page at all, basically, because obviously Amazon sees the referring page. My point is they can't get to it because it's, a ticket that the client can see only, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I learned the lesson, and I realized, okay, I actually need a page on my website for this. So what I did was I mentioned this months ago. So I created like a recommendations page on my website, and I linked to it in the menu. Why not just have some organic traffic when clients go to my site and they see, he's got some recommendations there. Oh, look, he's recommending this monitor. I could use a new monitor. They'll buy the monitor, right? So that's all publicly listed on my page.
Ooh, looks good.
Yeah, now you found it. Nice. Now, instead of linking a client through an email or through a ticket to Amazon.com/whatever my little code is, I will link them to my recommendations page. And I will say, just buy the 2 terabyte SanDisk, whatever hard drive on there, or G drive or whatever it is, the 2 terabyte model. And so they'll just click the link from my recommendations page, which is the correct URL and has the correct referring page that Amazon can track as, yes, this is a valid source of this traffic. And so I wanted to see if that would move the needle. It doesn't seem like it does much for me still, to be honest. And probably that's because most of the products I'm selling are like a hard drive for $100, which might be $1 in affiliate revenue or something. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but it's like very small. So you're going to have to sell a lot of hard drives at $100 a pop to really move the needle. However, I have more to that. So Sam, what do you think so far, since you're sitting there browsing my website?
Well, it looks pretty cool, actually. But I guess, could there be confusion in that the customer then has to go find the product on your page?
Very good question. So I spent some time, and this will answer maybe Ben's question a little bit. Benjamin Morales said, have you made a profit from the time investment you made to set up these pages? Probably not. To be honest with you, probably not yet. But again, I'll make it up in volume over time.
It's like your standard.
One would hope, yeah. So here's the way that I handle that situation, Sam. So I will, I have anchor links. So Squarespace, I mentioned in a previous show, I teased this concept of query strings in your Squarespace site. So this can be used to like add the little, custom URL, page name, question mark, offer equals whatever. Or so you can use query strings to embed like text in a site, in a page on your Squarespace site. You can also use anchor links. So it's not like a commonly known feature, but you can insert code. So, in a Squarespace site, you can insert text or an image or whatever. You can insert code, and that code can be HTML, and that HTML can be the same as you'd make a link, like an href equals whatever, but it can just be I forget the code, but like anchor or a name equals quote whatever. Okay, so you embed this code. Just look up anchor links if you're not tracking my verbalization of this. So you embed an anchor link, which has a name like HDD for hard drives, for example. So Sam, if you change the URL that you're looking at to, numbers, recommendations, # HDD, it'll jump to that section of this page.
Oh yeah. So in page, okay. Yeah, in page reference. Okay.
Yeah,
and if you had an anchor product, would it be an anchor link?
It'd be an anchor. It'd be an anchor link to an anchor product. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Nicely done. Nicely done. So yeah. So Sam, that's a great question, because if I don't want to make it harder for my clients, right? So if I'm linking them to the recommendations page where they have to scroll 5 pages down to find the hard drives and then try to see, what did he say? He said 2 terabyte what now? And they have to click the right link there. That's already too much work for them. So at least I'm linking them to the hard drive section of my recommendations page, or likewise, I'll link them to, if I'm trying to recommend a monitor, an external monitor, I have those at the top. I have a link to that. So
by the way, your portable power station is currently unavailable on Amazon.
Yeah, I know. I got to update the URL. And this is the problem, to Benjamin's point. If I have to keep these links up to date and review them periodically, there's a little bit of work to do that. So anyway, I thought I need a way to recoup some of this. I want to just see if I can make some money on this affiliate program before I just give up entirely. So this was my effort to do that. Then I realized I read Daring Fireball, John Gruber's site, all the time, and he was similarly linking people to Amazon to buy MacBook Airs, which were on sale for like 20% off for back to school. So some of them are like 15, some of them are 20. Yeah, for like current MacBook Airs. So here's my take on this. Apple now offers 16 gigs of memory on the base configuration. So pretty much any of these MacBook Airs are going to be fine. The only question is storage. So there's a good number of people that, they want to buy a MacBook Air for their kid for back to school, or they just want one for an employee, but they're not set up with a custom store, or, they're getting a new Mac for themselves and they just have a relatively small amount of data. So you can link to, the 256 gig base model or the 512. You can also link them to the one with more memory. So Amazon has specific configurations, and they will save like 10% or more by going through Amazon, at least right now. those have finally shown an increase in actual what they call shipped revenue. So Amazon reports like weekly, you basically every week it says like you haven't referred enough revenue to us to even see a number here, like is what they usually say. So meaning it's like probably under like $10 or something. But every once in a while it's it's 100 or 300 or whatever. In this case, it was like over $3,000 because we probably sold 2 or 3 MacBook Airs through the link. So we sent out a newsletter promoting this, and I think that's where those sales probably came from.
And
but
what was your take on that? Just
I don't know yet. I'll collect on that like
50
in a week
cents?
or two, I think. Yeah, it'll be like probably $30 or $40, I think, something like that. So again, probably not worth it, but
because they have a sliding scale too. Some products are, and it's not just based on the value, but some products deliver a higher commission than other products.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't actually know what the commission is on these. This is all just experimental. Again, like if this, maybe it works out and I leave this long term and I make a little extra money monthly on this. Maybe it was a waste of time of 2 hours or whatever. But this is why I'm in business, partly to experiment and play with things. Yeah. The other thing is I started adding iMacs to it because I had a client call, this is like a once every 5-year client. Hey, my 2017 Mac, I need a replacement, whatever. Just a residential client. Yeah, we're still supporting in a very light touch kind of way like that. And so, he needs like a Mac with the base storage or maybe 512 or whatever, an iMac. So I just added the iMacs there. He's going to save 10% going through Amazon. I assume Apple doesn't like mind that the sale is going through Amazon. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't sell their products there. And, why not make something on it versus the thing is also if I'm linking them to Apple, it's actually more steps a lot of times. With an iMac, they have to pick a color unless I want to pick it for them, right? So my link is to a specific color, and then I have to tell them to select this memory or select this storage. In this case, with Amazon, assuming one of the default models works, I just link them directly to like a recommended model. They can just change the color if they want. They can add AppleCare. So Amazon's like buy page is actually like better for a home user than Apple's. So anyway, those are the reasons I'm using this service. And so far it seems like, I'll probably make a little bit of extra money on it, at least enough to maintain it. And why not, why not do that? Do you guys know if there's like, I'm asking this publicly, am I precluded from doing this because I'm an Apple, affiliate, using the custom store program? I'm not stocking hardware and selling it. I know I can't do that. But
I could tell you, but I've signed an NDA and I can't really tell you.
Okay. All right. Then what if I was talking about a different fruit company?
I don't think so.
Am I allowed to sell bananas through Amazon? You know what I mean?
Bananas are fine.
Yeah.
The downside to buying from an authorized retailer, and I told this story many moons ago. I had one time a high value client. He bought a very expensive MacBook Pro for his kid, and something wasn't right with it. And we bought it through a reseller. And ultimately, the reseller pushed back and said, well, we'd have to put it back in our distribution channel, and I don't know if we can do that. So I actually went out and bought him another one. And as it turned out, I was going to try to sell I forget exactly what was wrong with it. It was like something minor, some minor cosmetic thing. And so, as long as you're within the return window, you can bring something back to Apple. There's no questions asked, if you get it through or earning Apple online. And, like most times you won't get bitten, but that one time you're like, man, why the hell did I buy this from B&H, Yeah. B&H, though, has a very good return policy.
Well, so does Amazon. So does Amazon, right? I mean, if they're not happy with it, that's between them and Amazon. I provided a recommendation. Sure, I included the link. They bought it from Amazon. They can return it probably very easily. And, I don't see, I don't know what the harm could be, but it's more a question of like, does Apple, frown on this or explicitly prohibit it? I just don't see how they could. Amazon is a licensed, reseller for Apple, so should be fine.
Yeah, I don't see where that would be a problem necessarily. But do you make money on the custom store? Like, do you leverage
we also
that?
I have, I'm in various client custom stores and we get whatever small percent, It's, again, mostly just covers the time it takes to send all these recommendations and evaluate their systems and things.
So I've never shared this publicly, but we're amongst friends here who listen, and I know you guys know this, but there are some affiliate programs out there that have been extremely generous, and maybe that's the sun is setting, but I've mentioned it before. So there's a product called Daylight, which is a content management system.
Let's hear it.
I'll let
What's
Joe
that site
do it.
again? Yeah.
DaylightMac.com.
There you go.
DaylightMac.com. And I have been in that program for over 10 years. And just one time as a fluke, they said, we want you to construct a website. Like if you get referral fees from Drive Savers, they often say, like, we've given you an affiliate code. We would really like you to construct a website. So I've done that, and I've used it sometimes in the past. But I can tell you that selling Daylight over the course of the 10 years, some years, and I kid you not, I made $12,000.
Amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've never talked about this publicly because I didn't want somebody else to put getdaylightmac.com because I don't think I own that domain. And sort of jinxed me. Yeah, but there's an opportunity if you're listening and you're industrious. But they're extremely fair. And the reason why they're fair, I'll tell you why, because they're Canadian. And the Canadian people as a whole are they're reserved and they're fair. I say that kind of cheeky, but I sincerely mean it. They're gentlemen and gentlewomen. They're gentle people. They don't.
I have an example, which is the exception that proves the rule. I think not any colleague of ours, but a company I've done business there that was very dishonest. But again, to your point, I think that is the exception, and it probably proves the rule.
So you came across a shady Canadian at one point or another.
Yes, at one point in time. Yes.
The other thing I wanted to mention was Drive Savers. So if you sign up for Drive Savers, you send somebody your affiliate code. They send the drive out. They give you a prepaid label. They'll evaluate the drive, right? And then if the client decides, and they're dealing with the client exclusively, so you don't have to handle this at all. You just provide them the phone number. You're getting an employee who works for Drive Savers, so they know exactly from a technical standpoint when they're talking with your client who may not be technical, they know exactly how to handle this. So I'll just interject here. I don't want to derail the Amazon pathway that we've been on, but
I think we're probably off it, but go ahead.
Okay.
I think that was it. I'm saying, I think.
Okay. So you mentioned G drives. So I had this client, high value client. They're on they're a family. They're on the program. They pay a little bit of a recurring fee, but their daughter had two 4 terabyte, two separate enclosures, 4 terabyte G drives. And she said neither one of them was mounting on her Mac. So I said, let me pick them up and take a look at it. And sure enough, neither one of them mounted, and I suspected it was the enclosure, right? So I said, well, we can probably find an enclosure similarly on eBay, which we did. I found one for $60. I ordered it. It came in. I put the drives in, enclosure 1 in there. They spun up. But initially when it mounted, it said this drive needs to be initialized. You want to do that? And of course, you don't want to do that because there was data there. So I took the other set of drives, put it in there, same thing. So I reached out to her and I said, was there a catastrophic event that you encountered that caused both of these to go sideways at the same time? Because she did say that the data was the same on both drives. So I'm getting to the punchline here. So, put them in touch with Drive Savers. I said, at this point, there's only one place for you to go to recover this data. So Drive Savers said, yep, send us the drives. So I packed them up for her, charged them for it, right? Wrapped them in bubble wrap. And I just sent the drives, not the enclosure. Right? Yes. Just the drives, because that's what they wanted. They get them. They realize they're RAID 0. Guess what Drive Savers? Yeah, that was the thing. They were set up in RAID 0. Guess what Drive Savers price was to my
want
client?
to know, because I was just trying to quote this number to my client, giving a general range of what to expect.
You're too low, Sam. So again, RAID 0 is different than RAID 1, obviously, because it's harder to recover. and for whatever, things they need to do to make it special. So take a guess.
Oh man.
You go, Joe.
$6,500.
$5,500.
55. I was going to guess that.
And the client, they had to process this a little bit. They said, "Do you think this is a fair price?" And I said, "Well, it's an extremely difficult recovery." So they took it.
Wow.
So I will get some sort of commission on this, and publicly I will share what that amount is. I'll hold up the check.
Nice.
So it can be lucrative. It's probably going to be over $300, I would imagine.
Yeah. That sounds
nice.
about right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for you. Anyway.
And they get 10% off using my affiliate code. So whatever, if it's 5,500, they get 10% off of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always nice when we can offer something like for the client, so it's not just in our own self-interest that we're saying, use my code when you call them.
Right.
Because I want them cash, but it's also because, they will get, like, I was just looking at this up with, data savers. So drive savers is obviously the one that's been around for decades, and they're like what Apple recommends. Probably still, I know they have in the past for a long time. Drive savers is great to work with for all the reasons you mentioned. They do some of the most advanced data recoveries. They were like the first one to recover data from an iPhone, I think, like things like that. But there's another company called Data Savers, and Data Savers is often cheaper than Drive Savers. They will they have the option for the type of recovery you were attempting, Jerry, where you you get a new enclosure and you put the drives in and it's like good to go, no clean room needed kind of thing. And they will charge a lot less for that. So they have like a tier 1, kind of service for that. And then if it needs to have they also have a clean room. So if it needs a type of recovery, they will do that and charge you accordingly. And usually it's less than, those prices from Drive Savers. However, for a RAID, or I don't know if they, might charge more for that, probably do, and maybe can't do it in some cases. I would imagine Drive Savers is a lot more sophisticated in terms of recovering data from like some odd types of storage or old types of storage or RAIDs and things like that. So I would trust them. Like, my advice to clients is, use Drive Savers if you absolutely need the data back no matter what, and you're willing to pay. Like, use Drive Savers from the beginning. We won't even attempt data recovery in that case, like just send it to the professionals. But if you want us to try, if we think maybe it's due to the enclosure issue like you were describing, and or you want a cheaper option, like, we might attempt it maybe, or we'd certainly recommend Data Savers. And similarly, they have an affiliate program, and they'll do the free evaluation, and they get, I think, $50 off or something like that, the actual recovery. And so there's something there for the client too, and they'll only charge you if they're successful. So it's that similar approach to Drive Savers, but that's a good recommendation. But how much data recovery do you guys hear about anymore? Is it?
I know, not much out there.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, except for that photography client we were talking about.
That's true. Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, sometimes when we will hear about them, they will be pretty difficult because it's like from a Drobo or from a Datto product. The other thing too is that if you're in some sort of a drive failure state, where maybe not like the situation that I described, but it's kind of mounting, but then you try to transfer files and then the drive, we've seen this, gacks and unmounts. You don't, you only have so many tries at trying to get that data back. So you don't want to, you don't want to send it to like this guy, and this guy's like, I can't do it. And you send it to the next guy, and they open it up and it's dust at that point, So, if you've got one time up to bat, you want to go with it, you want to work against a good pitcher.
Nice.
Sorry, Jerry, I'm having trouble hearing you over the birds.
Right. Yeah. So I take it you're not in the clean room if you have birds flying around. That's probably not where you do your data recovery.
Pet dander
projects.
does not fly well in the clean room.
Does not fly well. Flies too well. Yeah. That's a really good point. I had a client recently say, I lost data on this enclosure, and we think it's the enclosure. So we take the drives, we put them in another one. They're attempting all this stuff on their own, and I'm Jerry's gone.
I'm listening, Joe.
Yeah, I think he's got to feed the birds. So, it's the same story. They're like, we tried everything, and now we're asking you. And it's like, especially with data recovery, to Jerry's point, that is really not something you want to attempt every which way on your own before calling a professional. So, yeah.
There was a time with like the spinning discs where I did a little bit more of that, and I was sometimes a bit daring and things, but these days I'm not even going near it.
Yeah, we've done a couple interesting ones where, like, in one case we did replace the controller board. We had the same drive, same firmware. Like we did that kind of transplant because we knew from the type of failure it was that, like, it was the drive and or it was the controller on the drive. But yeah, not clean room stuff certainly. And in those cases, it's always with the express, like, like permission from the client, basically, like, yeah, I'm not going to pay drive savers, like I'm not going to do it for thousands, but if you can make an attempt and you can do it for hundreds, then and if it makes it worse, then I'm okay with that kind of thing. Like that's where we would attempt it in the past. We actually became known to Apple as like a data recovery option. They'd have people crying in the Apple store and they would send them to us and say, yeah, call Cymac, they can recover your data. So we did quite a bit of that where if we knew it wasn't a head crash situation, like where there's a catastrophic like platter problem, where the drive is marginal or failing or just needs a different enclosure or whatever, we had stations set up where we had those Weebitech, adapters, and you could adapt, an parallel ATA, like an ATA drive or a SATA drive, and take the drive out of an enclosure and put in an adapter, all those different things we would do in our office, and they'd have to run unattended sometimes for a long time. Maybe you'd rebuild the directory with Disk Warrior after then you get the drive to mount, then you do the clone to the new thing. So we did have a lot of success with that, but obviously when we closed the office, breaking news, Jerry, I don't know if we closed our office in Norwalk. Yeah, so
good Lord, I had no idea.
Yeah, we did close it, and so we came up with a little text expander snippet when we closed the office saying, oh, thanks for your interest in data recovery services, and we now recommend our partner Data Savers, and here's our little affiliate code, and you get free evaluation and $50 off. So little snippet on how to contact them, and that was it.
When you guys were at ACES, Angela Keary or some representative from Drive Savers made a presentation. Did anyone check that out at all, or no?
Yeah.
Or did they just have a table?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had a table. I did speak with Angela. It's funny because it's like putting a face to the name, a name we've known for like 20 years. Like she's been with them for a really long time in our rep in our area. And, I basically just said to her everything we've just been talking about. I rarely hear about data recovery anymore. I mean, knock on wood, it seems like, a solved problem pretty much these days, even though there's a lot of clients that are skating by, like, with hopes and dreams and like not backing up. But, solid state drives seem to be a lot more reliable, I would say, than hard disk drives. So that's what I mentioned to her. And also, if somebody needs that kind of data recovery, we have your info and we'll send them your way, but it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, I in a minute, I want to actually go back to the affiliate part of the conversation too. Just think it's not really about affiliates, but it's about a sale that we had to make. It just popped into my head as we were talking about this data savers.
Let's talk about it, as long as the public,
Yeah, no, I know I was teetering on if this should be, but I was just thinking, just as we're going through this theme of like purchasing equipment for customers and the best way to approach it, we have a vendor that I've talked about before on the show called Webistics that helps us like quote out things like sonic walls and things that you need like an expert to do. And I was just thinking of this one customer that we quoted them out, and there was a little bit of audacity there where they were asking the vendor who sent the quote directly to give them the part numbers and all this stuff so that they could look it up and find it somewhere else, like openly saying, wow, give me the stuff so I can find it somewhere else cheaper. Wow. And the vendor's like, what do I do here? Like, I don't want to be a jerk, but if I do that, I'm inviting them to just go shop it, Right. And I was just thinking, like, do they understand? I think they do, but do they understand who they're asking of this? Like, can you give me all the possible information so I can not work with you?
Right.
And it took a lot of doing where the customer finally ended up agreeing to make the purchase, partially because I said, listen, this is our partner and they're going to do all this stuff, like pre-configure it and do all that stuff that another rando website like sonicwalls.com or something, or firewalls.com is not going to do. And I'm going to have to chat with a representative if something goes wrong, or, call in tech support. And so there's a whole big push where they finally ended up like signing on the dotted line. But have you guys had customers that, like, I don't know, I guess, I don't know if it's a different kind of situation because there's a particular vendor that we have a personal relationship with. But
you've mentioned this vendor before, Sam, because I mean, can I say the industry that they're in or no?
Yeah. Well, the vendor?
No, I'm sorry. I said vendor. I meant the client.
No, don't want to go down. Don't want to go down there.
Can I mention the industry that they're in?
I'd rather not.
Okay,
you might say it anyway, but
he's going to say it anyway.
No, I'm not going to say it anyway. What do you
think? You don't want to say they're in?
Yeah. What do you think? This is one of my clients? Yeah.
How dare you?
Joe's clients?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times too, if we do buy it ourselves and then pre-configure it, whether it's a SonicWall or Ubiquity product, I think a lot of times it just has to do with the level of the vendor and their expectations. Like, I've been dealing with a healthcare client for a number of years, and I do a little bit of markup on the Ubiquity products.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it all depends. Like sometimes, you kind of have to surrender yourself to like, oh, you know what, we'll make it up in services.
Yeah.
So I'm not, you have to be transparent sometimes with the hardware, and other times you don't have to be. And this is why so many of those AV installers, gosh darn them, fish shake, love Snap AV, because none of their product prices are transparent. And it's all, most of this crap.
Yeah.
Except for the Wattbox.
Yeah. I was going to say, I like the Wattbox a lot.
Yeah. Which I still stand behind.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Sam. Something else occurs to me in this, because first of all, like Jerry was saying, you've had a similar situation in the past where I think like the client insisted and you relented and like you gave them the product and they found some, fell off a truck kind of situation. They like bought the product, and then, okay, here you go. And then like, I forget, was it not the right product, or you had to like spend time, reflashing firmware? Like you had issues
it was
with
insane.
it, right?
And we billed the hell out of them for it, and they ended up paying more.
Right.
I was like,
so this is
it's so like, and that whole story is same client, of course, but like calls back to this whole situation.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, I'm like, I don't understand like your line of thinking. Last time you got billed like crazy.
Exactly.
And it's so narrow focus of, I just want to get the best price for this thing.
Right.
No matter what else occurs.
So it's almost like, why not humor them? So this is because I'm actually thinking back to a conversation that came up in our chat between Stefan Oberle and Benjamin Morales. Stefan said, going back to my Amazon affiliate thing, why would I link my clients to this, save them 20% kind of thing through Amazon? Why not recommend, like, why would I do that when I could just sell it myself and keep the 20%? Like, sell it for the Apple retail price, and I, buy the product for cheaper and mark it up essentially. And Ben said, one option keeps money in your customer's pocket, and the other puts your customer's money in your pocket, which, by the way, we're all in business to do that. So it's not like that's necessarily a bad thing. But he says, if your revenue model is sufficient, why not build loyalty by saving your customers money? Right. So I'm thinking back to that and thinking, okay, there's different ways to slice this. Yeah. But in your case, if their option is like, well, maybe I can shop around and get a better price even than retail, or let alone, avoid paying like a marked up price for this one vendor who's going to like, spend the time evaluating with me what I need, spend the time pre-configuring it, shipping it, taking care of everything basically. I don't want to pay for all that. Yes, I want all those services, but then I want to like shop around and get it for cheap. Well, you could say, here's the stuff that you need, and you can buy it from this vendor and we're all good. Or if you want the model numbers and you want to shop around, then we charge you for the 2 hours of time that we spent, evaluating your needs, preparing the recommendations, and giving you this, this punch list of equipment. Like, you're welcome to shop around. Maybe you get a really good deal, and they're thinking, oh God, I'm going to save like $300, on the hardware. Yeah. And they just want a good deal, and they don't care that they're going to pay you, 1 or 2x that or something in hourly, like,
That's
okay,
crazy.
like from the
That's
top.
crazy.
But what, don't you think there's a chance that they'd be like, okay, let's do that option. Just charge me, you know?
And there's a lot of shady firewall dealers out there.
Oh, yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah.
That's true too. Yeah, you could have a supply chain attack. You could have somebody that's, inserting a chip in the firewall that's sending all their traffic out, and you have no idea, technically, right?
That's actually you can throw the paranoia point in there too, because like you could make them think this is the one piece that your whole network, like all your traffic goes through there. Do you really want to trust that to some shady site?
Exactly.
Right. That may not be an authorized reseller. You might be getting gray market product, like something with an international warranty, not even a U.S. warranty.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about warranty stuff? But maybe it's not just like either buy it from our vendor or, there's the potential that we're going to, or else we're going to spend a lot more time configuring it or working around problems. Maybe you say, that's still a concern. Like we may have to put extra time into it, resetting it or dealing with warranty stuff. But also right up front, we're just going to charge you the hour of time for the specing the equipment.
I do like
or
that.
Something,
I do like that actually.
Yeah.
And
it's
I could
easy answer. It's like, sure.
Yeah. But I would probably bill it and maybe even pay the vendor or something. Because like the problem is they put all the time into it, really. Exactly. I just like kind of forwarded the quote.
Right.
But yeah, so silly. Just so small-minded.
Yeah. Especially, I didn't realize it's the same client that literally has already been through the process of going with the shady equipment and then paying you like way more than they saved on that. And like,
I can name the industry that they're in.
No. All right, so I got a tip. You guys ready for a tip? I finally figured something out. So have you ever? Well, you guys don't spend as much time in Addigy Live Desktop as me, probably. What? Plastic? No.
Sam, name the movie.
Oh God!
Oh wait, I know this one too. Shoot.
Yeah. All right.
Plastics.
It's like that's the industry that Sam's client is in. Plastics. That's the tip. Oh man. That's a good stock tip though. Yeah, plastics. So have you ever had a problem? So you're using Live Desktop, you're using screen sharing specifically. So maybe you use it with other Macs in your network or through other tunnels or whatever, but suddenly you realize Command Tab is not working on your Mac. Have you ever had that happen?
I have,
Tab
actually.
Is not working?
Yep.
Okay. So this seems to be a new bug. At first I thought it was the dock because I'm pretty sure the dock is what listens for Command Tab and like responds to that and, handles the Command Tab switcher and all that. Dock was working fine. I'm like, I don't care. I'll try force quitting it. That still didn't work. Because sometimes you'll see the dock is frozen and like Command Tab and other things dock related don't work. So that wasn't the issue. So I had to restart. I didn't know what it was. So then this happened again like a month later and I'm like, let me dig into this more. So I racked my brain. I figured that, you know what, screen sharing app can intercept Command Tab and it can pass the Command Tab through to the remote machine, right? So if if you're controlling a client machine through screen sharing through Addigy Live Desktop, which is a great feature, love it, you can hit Command Tab and it will, Command Tab inside of that remote session. Similarly, you can hit, Command Shift. These are all muscle memory, but Command Shift,
I know. I see you looking at your keyboard.
Yeah, and then draw a box to like capture the screen, right? And you're doing that on the client side. What if I want to capture a picture of their screen from my side? You can use the screenshot thing, or you can bring up the. A lot of times I'll bring up the file transfers window in screen sharing, just so that that's the frontmost window in screen sharing. Mm-hmm. And then when you do Command Shift 4 and drag your little box in their screen sharing window, it's capturing it to your Mac. So it's not sending the Command Shift 4 to the client because their window is not the frontmost window.
Right.
Well, again, similarly, like Command Tab will be intercepted if their system is the frontmost window. So I started thinking about this whole Command Tab being intercepted thing, and I thought maybe it's screen sharing. So sure enough, I quit screen sharing, and the Command Tab started working again. So it saves you a restart. If it ever happens again, it's probably screen sharing app that is like capturing your Command Tab and incorrectly because it was no longer the frontmost app, but it was still like holding on to that, listener for Command Tab.
Joe's pro tip of the day.
Pro tip.
Joe, this probably isn't in your notes, but were you able to review any of the comments about your monitor
I did review some. Yep.
Yeah, and did you take a look at that app that you could get for free and
Yeah,
then buy it?
I swear I talked about it on the show because I think in the chat or in our Command Control Power channel on Slack, on the Mac
Mhm.
admin Slack, they're talking about the show where I first complained about the new monitor. I don't think I had yet solved the problem. But
Mhm.
yes, I am using Better Display. It's a great
Okay.
app. There's a free version that you can actually do what I need with. There's also a pro version. Why not pay for good software? What it does is it basically just gives you more resolution options. So I was complaining about my new Dell ultra widescreen display. And again, I'm pretty sure I did a follow up about this, and this was my solution, just what they were recommending in the chat.
Can we shout out who that was? Who
Yeah, can
I
you?
don't have that.
I'm not looking at it, but I
Well,
can.
I barely can operate my computer.
Let me help you
Sam.
with this. Um, no, I'm there. Yeah. So yeah, there's a good discussion here. So first of all, Roy Miggins came to my defense a little bit about how important PPI is. So I appreciate that because, yes, this monitor has 110 DPI or PPI, which is the whole issue. If it had like higher native, pixels per inch resolution, I don't think I would have seen this with the default resolution. So he came to my defense. That was helpful. Yeah, Stefan Oberly mentioned that he was surprised we didn't know more about good monitors, although I do have a few of these on my website recommendations page that I was just giving. And Pete McKinney, I think, is the one who recommended Better Display.
Okay.
It's betterdisplay.pro, and it's, again, the pro version. They have this feature called flexible scaling, which, again, is what I use to achieve this goal. So I added a note to this thread here. I'm using, actually, I can just tell right now because I'm on that monitor. So I'm using 2855 by 1195, which is one of the high DPI options that Better Display enables. And the whole point of this is that basically, like, you want a resolution that is crisp enough, but still gives you enough, screen real estate, but is, I don't know, but is smaller than the native resolution, basically, because you want to use some of those native pixels to give you a higher pixel density.
So what's the app?
Forget what I just said. I don't think I was speaking accurately there. Just install Better Display and select one of the custom resolutions or flexible scaling resolutions and just figure out what works for you, essentially.
Betterdisplay.pro. It's a GitHub repository.
Waydabber. Yeah, Waydabber is the.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
exactly. I don't know what words you're saying there.
That's the company, I think. Yeah, that's the company. Okay. Yeah, so the problem is, like, Apple gives you the standard native resolution of the monitor, which is 3440 by 1440. So it's like, hey, cool, that's a really high resolution. But for me, I can see the pixels. Like, it looks fuzzy to me. It's just literally fuzzy. And Apple gives you like half that as what they call the high DPI resolution. So it gives you 720 by 1720 by 720 so it's essentially pixel doubled. So they're using they're using 2 pixels for every 1 pixel of like actual screen resolution. So you get that really crisp, beautiful retina quality, except you only have 720 pixels of like height on a 34-inch like ultra wide display. It's way too small. It's like way too little screen screen real estate for my liking. So this resolution that I found is about halfway in between those two. So it still counts as high DPI. I still see it crisply, but it gives me more resolution, which is the whole point of buying a big monitor. You don't want to like lose all that to pixel doubling just to get a crisp image.
Well, I just downloaded and installed Better Display, so I'm playing around with it now.
Yeah, play with like one of those halfway in between resolutions, and you'll see like you're gonna see the difference. Like, this is much sharper, and I still have plenty of real estate.
Feel free to do it during the show, Sam.
That's how I roll every time. I mean, has anything changed in the last decade? That's just what I do. I'm a creature of habit.
No. I do appreciate all that feedback. And then Rocco Russo +1 the Better Display recommendation as well. So yeah, it's a great recommendation. and I am already using it, and I just wish Apple, like, they should just include that. They should include some standard kind of halfway in between full native resolution and high DPI in their standard options.
Now you sound like Apple discussions. Like, get your stuff together, Apple.
Yeah, come on, Apple. Yeah.
I have a quick little share. I have a
Whoa.
residential client.
Is that better, Sam? You're already flipping it? Sorry, Jerry.
Sorry, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. Just have your own little podcast there.
Just effed up my display while we were talking.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So yeah, so we set her up with the Ubiquity, the Dream Machine with the dome. What do we call that these days?
Dream Router.
Dream Router, yeah. And we gave her an access point on the second floor. And she was using, on the first floor, we had really good coverage. And so the Dream Router was in the basement. And so the whole first floor was going commando, no Wi-Fi. And the house was built like a brick house in the fact that you couldn't just like run a wire anywhere. And miraculously, they had a Cat 5 drop on the second floor, like on the wall. So they must have had this done, but there was nothing on the first floor. I went other than where the TV was, and somebody, before she moved in order to seal the deal of buying the house, this is probably too much information, they put a faux panel behind where the wires were for the TV. So you couldn't get access to that, right? Without like taking a Sawzall and like,
oh my goodness,
taking out. Yeah. So I wasn't going to do that. So I'm like, well, maybe we could put a U7 Pro on the second floor, which didn't really give us better coverage than the long range AC Pro, which goes back a few years now.
Yeah.
But that's one that you used to use regularly, right, Sam? The AC Pro long range LR.
Yeah.
But it was doing just it was doing just as good job. So the problem was on the first floor, she was using an Oculus Rift.
Okay.
That's what the kids call them, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know this at the time, but she was playing golf games and she would constantly be dropped. And she's like, I don't know what happened. This never happened before, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, did Xfinity come to your house and do? No, they didn't do anything, right? Because when we left there, when I did the initial install, I made sure that the radios on the Xfinity, because the Ubiquity product is in, what do we call that?
Double NAT, probably.
Double NAT, yep, thank you. And so I made sure that the radios were turned off on the Xfinity product. And she said, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So, we put in the new U7 Pro up on the wall. I'm checking it out on the first floor. And all of a sudden I get dropped on my computer. And I'm like, what the heck? So I go down to the Xfinity. I plug in directly with my laptop. We don't know what the password is. So it took us like 40 minutes to talk to Xfinity and talk to somebody who lives in this country to reset the password so we could access the console again. Yep. Because you can't do this from the app, right?
Right.
So guess what? We accessed the console. There was a duplicate SSID.
Of course.
For her. Yeah. So she would be on her Oculus and she'd be playing her golf game, and all of a sudden it would jump to the Xfinity because it could still reach that signal. And then it would jump back to the Ubiquity.
Yep.
So and she was like thrilled to death. I had to charge her for like 2 hours because it took me much longer than I expected. But the moral to this story is just never assume things, even if you set them up previously. You just got to check all the time.
Yeah. I've seen that with the local ISP too.
Yeah. And those Xfinity boxes you have it in double NAT because it can't be turned into that bridge mode,
correct,
right?
Yeah, because it's a residential account. Yeah,
what a pain.
I found with both issues, so the workaround is, it's in double NAT, so it's going to be broadcasting Wi-Fi. Maybe you can't turn Wi-Fi off because they don't let you do that, but you turn the radios down or you change the SSID. So this, kind of thing. So you can do that workaround. Or like maybe you can put it in bridge mode in certain circumstances, but in either case, I've seen it just reset itself back to the factory settings, like goes out of bridge mode, goes back to double NAT, which might take your network down depending on your settings, or it will go to, or, like in your case, Jerry, maybe they did a firmware update and the firmware like sets the radio strength. It's not like it just uses the old setting and imports it. It just like changes it back to the default.
Yeah, but it was the SSID that was the same, which the SSID was, believe it or not, 1701, right? The address to the house, which is fine, So it could have been, she had an outage, she calls them up, they're trying to do tech support, and they're like, oh, well, what's the Wi-Fi access point that you access? And she said, oh, it's 1701. And they're seeing it's like not that, and somebody remotely changed it for her.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So that's another thing too. So never assume anything.
Yeah, never assume. Exactly. It's a good.
Now you were mentioning in the area for you and Sam, those routers, those modem routers are particularly difficult in the residential setting that you can't, like you said, you can't even access them anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what's your experience, Sam, with those. Yeah, with the Altice, new.
Oh yeah, boxes. I mean, I would have to ask Matt, to be honest, because ever since those have been in play, I haven't been going to homes doing that stuff.
Yeah, same. I'd have to ask Tim about those, but from what
we'll ask
I
our
know,
team, Jerry. We'll get back to
ask our teams. They're worse, as what I've come to understand. Like they're in what Altice did, which is a company that bought Optimum, or Optimum bought Altice, or whatever. Just the this great, never-ending merger of every company into one big conglomerate. Oftentimes, obviously, quality goes down because they're prioritizing other, shareholder profits and things. So Altice installed these devices, or Optimum installed these Altice devices that are it's one device that can be everything. So one device will be your main modem router and cable box, or the same box can go plug in somewhere else and just be a cable box, and it's not even a cable box anymore. It's like, it's an IP based streaming thing. So there's like one main, connector on the network that then distributes content to everything else. It's a little confusing on how that actually works in practice, but the equipment is worse, is the bottom line. And so we try to avoid it, but in some cases, you just have to go double NAT and just live with that.
Can you find Jerry in the train station? Do you see him in the?
No, it's like, where's Waldo?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, no, I'd be curious to ask Matt about how those are holding up. But I think Altice bought Optimum. I think that was the direction that it went, if I'm not mistaken.
Altice bought. Okay, got it. Yeah. It's funny because I hadn't heard of them prior to that, and I thought Optimum was pretty big, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they were. I'll look it up, but I think they were some kind of big company. But I could be wrong. I've been known to be wrong from time to time, Joe.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. So let's see. As we wrap up here, I have a gripe, because I gave you a tip earlier, but I got to give you a gripe, and then one more PSA, and then we'll wrap quickly. So
can I just say one thing? Once you go double NAT, you never go back.
Okay.
Jerry thought about that one for a while. Good job,
nice.
Jerry.
Nice. Where you can't go back. That's the problem. It's like then they, it's like it's one or the other. So have you guys seen this issue in Preview app? It's Preview app and it's text edit. I've seen this in both, but in Preview app in particular, I might double click a JPEG image, and I just want it to open in its own window. There's a setting for that. So you go into settings, images, when opening files, the quote, open each file in its own window. It's exactly what I want. That's selected. However, when I double click a JPEG, it seems to always want to open in some random window that's behind other windows as a tab in that window, or as a thumbnail on the left-hand side.
Okay.
Seems to happen with other things. I think I've seen it in text edit as well. With maybe I think that's actually a different issue. But anyway, have you seen this? Because I don't have a solution for this, and it's just on my own Mac, and
Isn't that's the default setting though, right? To open
exactly. I'm
window?
pretty sure that's the default. So I don't know if it's my preferences are corrupted and I just need to reset previous.
What if you downloaded Onyx and see if there was some sort of setting for that?
I mean, the thing is, there is a setting, so I guess I should just probably look at what is that CF prefs, Damon, actually.
You want help with that?
Whatever. How are you going to charge me? It's free,
no,
right?
I figured Tim could help you out if you're.
Okay, nice.
You do it internal.
Or I had a client the other day say, one of these clients said, well, I just figured this is really interesting for someone to take on. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that's like part of the motivation, but it's not like, it doesn't like pay the bills, just because I'm like interested in the solution. But yeah, that's, it's one of those that, I hope I solve it, and maybe I'll tell you guys in a follow-up. Last quick thing is Splashtop is ending support for macOS 10.9 and prior. You guys get that email?
Well, that's fine with me.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. They're ending support for TLS 1.0 and 1.1 at the end of September. And that's, important for security enhancements, which makes a lot of sense. They really shouldn't be supporting an outdated protocol like that. But that means that those older clients won't work. So Windows XP, Vista, Server 2003, and Server 2008 R1. So hopefully you guys are not maintaining any of those systems anymore. Mac OS 10.9, maybe there's a couple out there. Maybe you hear from somebody, probably not a big lucrative gig that you want to take on. Also, Android version 4 and iOS version 4 are also unsupported. So I didn't even know iOS 4 had any kind of mechanism for supporting Splashtop, but
yeah,
apparently it did. But yeah, so TLS 1.0, goodbye.
I'm proudly cutting them loose. They come up for renewal in like a week, and I've already turned off the auto renewal. I'm done with them.
Wow. All right, you did it, because I saw your question on Slack. So yeah, nobody said, there was no edge case that you had to worry about. It sounds like for keeping Splashtop.
How are you handling, or maybe you're not, but like removal of the client end software?
Big Atlantic.
Fair enough.
I'm
just
not
rebrand it as Big Atlantic, and then leave it. Yeah. I wrote a script because I went through the same process when I dropped TeamViewer. So I wrote a little script, based on TeamViewer's list of like, make sure you delete this and this and this and this and this from your launch daemons and your whatever. So I just made a script in Adigy, and I push that out once in a while when I see I still have my, TeamViewer on some random old, Mac that I'm managing. I mean, I also have a script I can like detect it, obviously, but I usually just use the script selectively to, if I see it, I remove it. But that is a good question, because I don't like leaving that stuff behind, but to each his own.
Sure,
you're right, because it is branded, the few that I had, but I didn't have that many. And, these are still clients that I'm working with. I just can't pay them that extortion money anymore.
No, well, also there's a difference between the like unattended versus like your random SOS download. I wouldn't worry about that. That's not installed per se. So.
Well, maybe I'm speaking out of school, but this is why people tune in. And if you were patient enough to wait till the very end of the show and you're using Adigy, a couple of people let me in on a little secret, and I let you guys in. If you add, and I told Joe about this, if you add one iOS device, and it could be your own phone, to Adigy. If you have a client, download the SOS generic app from Splashtop. You go into your device in Adigy, and there's a little Splashtop icon. You click on it, and it says, "Give me the code." And as soon as you give the code, it works.
Excellent.
It works to connect to any device, with the code. Yeah. So they read you the code and you put it in. It's a great, like little feature or whatever.
Does that work on iOS 4, Jerry? Do you know?
Well, Joe can test it on his Snow Leopard machine that he's using as his primary computer.
Okay, quick pop quiz at the end here. Which macOS version is 10.9?
Maverick?
Monterey.
I think Sam got it. I'm pretty sure it's Mavericks, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes. Is this on the quiz?
Yeah, well, that was the quiz, so you won 100%. Nice. Mavericks is right. Yeah. Nice.
Well, isn't it Maverick? It's not Mavericks.
Mavericks, plural. No, it's plural because it's named after the surf spot in California.
Right.
That's called Mavericks for some reason. So yeah.
I was thinking, because I'm a Maverick. I was just
Maverick has the ball.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, guys. Good talking to you all, and good show. Thank you all out there for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. And once again, we have a lot more content behind the scenes. We've released like monthly episodes for the past few years on Patreon. So if you miss us and you want more content and you just can't get enough Command Control Power, You can get more Command Control Power by going to commandcontrolpower.com, click on support, and pledge any amount on Patreon. We'd love to have your support there. We find it very encouraging. And you not only get access to all the back catalog of every public show we've ever done, 600 episodes plus, but also you get the entire behind the scenes catalog of all the shows we've done through Patreon, where we speak more candidly and openly about the clients we deal with, the teams we manage, our marketing, our faults and foibles and faltering on our businesses, as well as our live streams like our listeners today who've contributed. So thank you all for listening and supporting us at commandcontrolpower.com. See you next week.
That's right.